Master this smoking hot arpeggio workout and I guarantee your friends are gonna start calling you YOLO Mousemeat, or your money back. Hey there kids, and welcome to a brand new installment of Weekend Wank Shop. Here with your good buddy, Uncle Ben. Once upon a time, my stepmom cut off my allowance because I got behind on my sweeping. If she was here right now, I think she'd probably do the same thing because I've really let my sweep picking go. So to help me get my chops back and put a little bit of allowance money in that bank account, I came up with this awesome arpeggio etude in the key of E minor. We're going to use all 7 of the diatonic arpeggios in the key while sliding up and down the neck on the top 3 strings of the guitar. This is a great way to learn the board and see how those arpeggio shapes connect and help you get that sweep picking under control. Now let's hear it again at stepdad speed. As always, this video is brought to you guys by everybody who supports my channel over on my Patreon page, patreon.com/Ben Eller Guitars. Sign up today for access to all kinds of cool stuff. This week, everybody who supports my channel, even for just $1 a month, is going to get access to the downloadable tabs, the guitar profiles, and the practice tracks that I made to go along with this lesson. Practicing with all those goodies makes it so much easier to build your speed and keep nice and smooth as you progress through this exercise. And in fact, I want you to do well with it so much that today and today only, that is this date whenever the video comes out, I'm gonna make that Patreon post public. So that way you don't even have to sign up to my Patreon page. You can just head on over there using the Patreon link in the video description, grab all of those assets, the guitar profiles, the practice tracks, all that jazz. I'm gonna let you guys get that stuff for free today only. You got nothing to lose and lots of cool stuff to gain, so head on over there today, patreon.com/Ben Eller Guitars. Gear-wise for today's video, I'm going to be playing through the Fractal Audio Axe FX 3 and mashing on my beloved Suhr Modern Satin. By the way, my good buddies over at Sweetwater just announced that they're going to start carrying Suhr guitars and amplifiers, which is fantastic. That means you're going to be able to get the best built American guitars ever through the greatest online music retailer. It's a pretty fantastic combo if you ask me, so be sure to check them out on the Sweetwater site. Use my affiliate link down there in the video description. First things first, let's get the lay of the land and talk about the arpeggios that we're going to be using here. We're in the key of E minor. We're going to be using 7 different arpeggios. First one here is your E minor arpeggio. Next up, we're going to have F sharp demolished, G major, A minor, B minor, C major, D major, and then we're going to be back up at E minor again. It's worth noting that all these arpeggios have the root note on the 2nd string. For all these different licks, we're going to play up or down an arpeggio and then slide up into the next position and play up or down that one. Use that rest break to try to evaluate any tension that you're building up in your picking or fretting hand. Because as your stepmom taught me, there's only one good place for tension: the bedroom. We're going to start off here with the E minor arpeggio. Picking wise, that was down, 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 up. After that last upstroke, slide into the next position, the F sharp diminished. Notice that off that upstroke, I did a slide and a pull off. Another upstroke, then we're going to play a downstroke here on the G. For 99.9% of this, you're going to be using downstrokes on the G the entire time. Just trust me, you'll see why. After that downstroke that you just played on the C note, you're going to slide into the next position, which is going to be our G major arpeggio. After this, we're going to slide up into the A minor position. 1, 2, 3, 4. After that fourth lick, we're going to restart the entire cycle with this. So that was the A minor arpeggio again, starting with an upstroke and a pull off from the high note. This is one of the areas where it makes sense to do that downstroke on the G like I mentioned earlier. That downstroke propels you towards this, so you can restart the sequence again. See that move? A lot easier to grab that if you did a downstroke on the G as opposed to an upstroke. So from here what we're going to do is to do that upstroke and pull off on the A minor. From this note, we're going to slide up into our next position, the B minor arpeggio. So, after that high note right there, slide into the next position of C major. Slide that up into D major. Now, whenever you slide into that E minor, this is where the whole thing reverses. We're going to start walking down the arpeggios. So you're going to play down the E minor, sliding down to D major, sliding down to C major, sliding down to B minor. One, two, three, four. After this fourth one, we're going to restart the sequence again here on B minor, kind of like what we did on the way up. So that was again going to the low note of B minor here, sliding down to A minor, sliding down to G, then sliding down to your F sharp diminished. So that's B minor, A minor, G major, F sharp diminished. Now that C note right there, this is the only time I recommend hitting the G string with an upstroke. So you're going to have two consecutive ups there from the F sharp to the C note. That way you can do a downstroke to restart the sequence on the way up. So your ascending sequence is going to be like this. Descending is going to be like this. Now here's a couple of tips to keep this sounding super squeaky clean. First things first, you're going to want to mute the bottom three strings of the guitar at all times with the picking hand. I've kind of got the E, A, and D strings here just mashed under the kind of the corner of my palm of my picking hand. We're never using those anyway, so you might as well keep them super quiet. When it comes to holding the pick, be sure to heed the advice of 38 Special and hold on loosely. If you grip too tightly, you will indeed lose control, as was prophesied. I really try to use the minimal amount of pressure on the pick. I'm barely hanging on to the thing. Just enough to keep it from like flying out of my fingers, you know? That's what's always been optimal for me. I notice whenever I hold on too tightly, even just coming off deck of the guitar, you can hear how tense it is. Even if I'm playing right on the tops of the strings, it gets that sound of like when you put a playing card in the bicycle spokes, you know? Do kids even do that anymore? Do kids have bikes? Or would they put like, I don't know, Pokemon cards in the spokes? Is that what they're doing now? Yu-Gi-Oh? Magic the Gathering? I have no idea, guys. I'm old as fuck. Anyway, just be sure to use as little tension as you can hanging onto that pick. And whenever you're going through the strings, be sure to play on the tops of the strings. Don't think about digging in deep with the pick like this. It's just really hard to control and it doesn't sound good. I'm trying to think about tickling the tops of the strings, just kind of grazing over them with the pick. As opposed to this. Pretty easy to see which one sounds and feels better. You might have noticed as I was playing up and down that arpeggio that I slightly alter the picking angle depending on if I'm doing consecutive downstrokes or consecutive upstrokes. I call that paintbrushing the pick. And it uses the same logic as if you were holding a paintbrush instead of a guitar pick. If you're going down the wall, you tend to slightly angle the paintbrush that way, right? Goes down a lot more smoother. Whereas if you're painting up the wall, you would alter it so that the paintbrush is going that way. It just does better than keeping it flat with the wall or trying to make this go up or this go down or whatever. Just slightly bank that pick so that it flows over the strings like a paintbrush going up and down a wall. Or a feather over your stepmom's back. I don't know. It doesn't have to be like a big exaggerated affair, you know? Just try to give it a little bit of a break angle so that it just flows nice and smooth over the strings. There are some guys out there that get away with having a pretty extreme, exaggerated kind of paintbrushing effect of the pick. Matthias Eklund of the band Freak Kitchen is one of my favorite players ever. And that guy has a very pronounced paintbrush effect with his playing. So look up like Matthias Eklund arpeggios or sweeps or something, and I'm sure you'll find some footage of him doing it, and you'll see what I'm talking about. Over here with the left hand, there's also a few things you can do to keep everything sounding squeaky clean. For one, your first finger is your best buddy in combating the crime of awful string noise coming off whenever you're changing positions. Notice the position of my first finger as I play up and down these arpeggios. There's a couple of different things my first finger is doing that's making this sound a lot cleaner and smoother. For one, I've always got the tip of that first finger slightly touching the next string above it. So whenever I'm playing the G, the tip of that finger is very slightly touching the D string. Not fretting it, just muting it a little bit. Whenever it's here on the high E, you'll notice the tip of it is very slightly touching the B string. This serves a couple of different purposes. For one, like if that string was gonna ring out, you know, maybe I came off of it too hard like that with my middle finger, you'd hear it ringing out. But if the tip of that finger is very slightly touching that B string, that means it's muted and you won't hear it. It also does a really good job to kill any sustain coming off of that B string. It's immediately gonna be killed out and muted whenever the tip of that first finger is slightly touching it. One more thing I want to mention here too is keeping that thumb super loose on the back of the neck. Try not to use too much forward pressure with that thumb. That's just going to add drag, which is going to slow you down. I know obviously you can't see it unless you got that Clark Kent X-ray vision. But my thumb is really loose on the back of the neck as I'm playing up and down these positions. It's like barely touching the neck of the guitar. That's really essential if you want to make your way up and down those positions fast and not, you know, drag your way up and down the neck like that. Stay loose, take it slow. It's going to be a lot easier if you gradually bring the tempo up using the practice tracks and guitar profiles that I'm going to be putting up on that Patreon page. So be sure to head on over there, grab those tracks, and give it a whirl. So there you go, guys, a dope new arpeggio exercise that's going to turn you into the next Yahweh milkshake. You guys are going to get even more out of this video if you practice it along with the guitar profile, the downloadable tabs, and the practice tracks over there on my Patreon page. So be sure to mash on that Patreon link in the video description and check out my page today. Thanks as always for watching. Be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, ring the bell for notifications, tell a friend, wave at your neighbor, pet a dog. All kinds of good stuff that makes the world better. Do all that stuff today. And be sure to tune in next week for some more shreddy goodness with your good buddy, Uncle Ben. Now get away from the computer and go play some guitar. Less clicking, more picking.